Well, we've got a really bright sunny day, and what we're going to use is our dyed pieces of paper to make anthotypes. So we've got our coloured papers that have dried and have been kept and stored in the dark. We've got some glass sheets and a firm base, and we've got some cutouts. These have been cut out from an old Weet-Bix box. And so what we're going to do, here I've got my hydrangea. I'm going to cover some part of this from the sun, and what we're looking for is a pattern that will be left, so where the sun is hitting it, the UV rays are going to alter the pigment, the change in that pigment over time. We're just going to try something a little bit tricky here. We might set a few of these up here. We'll use our little blueberry one too, which is quite dark, and get another wave pattern across that, and see what we can get out of that. And once we've got our pieces of paper that we're going to make our anthotype from, put the glass sheet on top. We just need to make sure that's pressed down. We might have to rearrange that carefully. Press down so that there's no light getting under our shape. What you can do is, if you want to, any shape, cut out any shape you like, a stencil of some form to make your pattern, or you might prefer to do something like a leaf or a found object. In fact, what we'll come back and do is take an image after a different amount of time, and the change in intensity of the pigment will be a bit of an indicator to us about the exposure and the intensity of the light they have been exposed to. Well, here we are out in the sunshine, spring day. We're talking about intensity and duration of light, okay? And these two things can be measured with an instrument, such as this. Well, intensity anyway. This is a light meter, called a lux meter, and you can see it's got a few different scales on it here. And if we just lay this down on a flat surface, you'll see that it's got a white area. This is what collects the photons. And we just turn it on to the first level, and this will measure up to 200 lux. The units here we're using are lux. So when it says OL, there's more than 200 lux, so we go up to the next level, 2,000, and finally we get up to 20,000, and it's giving us a reading of 552. The thing is that because we're on this scale here, we have to multiply this number by 10. So the actual number is 6,700 lux, approximately 6,700 lux. You see it varies, it changes, depends about the cloud going over in the sky, affecting intensity, angle of the sun, something moving in front of it to shade it. Roughly 6,700 to 7,000 lux. On a bright sunny day such as this, when the sun isn't behind a cloud and we're not sitting behind the shade of a tree, then we find that we get an intensity which is measured in about 80,000 to 100,000 lux. Of course, it's more in summer, height of summer, and the middle of the day at a high angle than it is in winter time. If it was a thick cloud, dark, southerly rolling in, black clouds, it might only be 3,000 to 4,000 lux, very small. And then on a general grey day, just sort of haze everywhere, it might be anywhere between 10 and 30,000 lux. Inside in a house, it's a lot less, or depending where you are, relationship to the windows and that. So this gives us a quantitative measure, gives us a number, lux, okay? The imperial unit is foot candles, but we use lux. What we're doing with our anthotypes out here in the sun, leaving them, is to give us a qualitative measure. The amount of fading or the loss of pigmentation as an effect of the photons reacting with the chemicals in those pigments gives us a change in the intensity of the pigmentation, which is affected by the intensity, like how bright it is, but also the duration, how long it goes for. And it'll give us a little bit of a rough scale. You know, this is more than that sort of thing. This is more intense, this is less intense, this is a longer duration, this is less duration, but not an absolute quantitative value.
Here's our bright light one set up, and here's an effective duration, same one after about 12 to 14 hours later, and here's a comparison between the two, dull light on the left, bright on the right, intensity effect, and this is accumulated time of about 24 hours for both, which gives us kind of a measure of how long to leave out an anthotype.
Okay, we've been looking at how we can use the plant pigmented papers as a measure, qualitative measure of light intensity. Now we're going to see if we can make an anthotype print using some images that we've got here, just copied onto ordinary A4 paper, and we're going to need wax or oil and a hot plate of some sort, or just a flat frying pan would do. And we're going to try and make an anthotype. So what we do here is we choose our images. I'm going to use the waves, you know, we're working with waves, and I'm going to use the picture with a lot of contrast. It's good to have a lot of contrast, light and dark contrast, and different grey tones. And then we're going to warm it up a little bit. You could put a paper tissue under this as well. In fact, we might do that because we don't want anything that's on the hot plate coming through onto the paper. We want it to be very clean. Okay, I think we've got it pretty warm. It's getting pretty warm here. And you can use wax and just rub the wax into it, let it melt, or we can use oil. For this one, for my first one, I'm just going to try just simple straight oil here, nice clean oil, and basically we're going to get a little bit of oil on our cloth, quite a lot of oil on our cloth actually, and then we're going to dab this oil on the paper, and you'll see that as we do it the image starts to come through, so we're making sort of a transparency of this. Here I'm using candle wax on the warm plate. See, I'm just trying out two methods, you know, the oil, the olive oil and the candle wax, and we'll see which one works better. I just want to absorb and wipe off any excess wax. We just want the wax that's impregnated into that paper to make our transparency. So I've now placed them between the glass sheets. I've used two reasonably strong coloured pigmented papers. At the top, the really rich yellow of the turmeric, and down below the sort of subtle brown of the coffee. And we're going to put them in the sun for a long time. Here's our anthotype. It's got the black paper at the back, and it's in the window facing north, the sun. We've had it here for 3 weeks. We've had quite a few good sunny days, so I think it's had pretty good duration and some good intensity. Easily has accumulated probably, you know, 20 hours or more of bright sunlight. Well, here we are. Let's have a look and see what results are. I'll take off the rubber band and separate the glass sheets. This is the wax one. Oh,
well, here we are. We've got a reasonably good image on the coffee paper, but the stronger pigments and the more sensitive pigments such as turmeric give a better image. We have got oil and wax blotches, and we could have stopped this by turning the paper round so that the dark side was against the pigmented paper. Let's call this surfing the light.